Hey guys, Kieran King here. So last time we looked at a basic overview of what a balance sheet is. Today we're going to look at how the balance sheet is actually structured, the different headings you come to and what they mean. So when you look at a balance sheet, you'll see three predominant titles. You will see assets first, then you'll have liabilities, and then you'll have shareholders equity. Assets is further categorized into two items, current and non-current. So what does this mean? Well, current assets are any assets that can be converted easily into cash in under a year. Okay, so it can be converted into cash in under 1 year. For example, we have cash or cash equivalents as a subheading. Equivalents. Cash is, well, cash. Cash equivalents are low risk, highly liquid items that can become cash very quickly, and these are things like short-term government bonds. You might also have something called accounts receivable. Accounts receivable, these are invoices that, when are paid for, are converted into cash. For example, imagine you provide a service for a customer. Let's say you paint their house, and you issue them with an invoice and are awaiting payment for that job. Although you don't have the actual cash in the bank just yet, you are expecting it to be paid soon by the customer. So think of accounts receivable. It is the amount you are waiting to receive from work that you have done for credit. And also within current assets, you might have inventory. Okay, these are like the hard things that you have in your warehouse, in your factory. These can be categorized into raw materials, work in progress goods, or even finished goods. So say you have a company that makes computers and you have sitting in your warehouse 20 computers ready to be sold. That is essentially a good within your inventory that you can sell. Let's move on to non-current assets. So non-current assets are assets that can be converted into cash in over a year. Okay, they take a little bit more time to be converted into cash. All right, they're not as liquid, so in over 1 year. And these are things like PP and E. So what is PP and E? PP and E stands for plant, property, and equipment. So, for example, why would a property be under a non-current asset? Because although you can sell a property, it is a lot harder to place a value on it, and it will take considerably longer to sell than some of the stuff we spoke about before. You might also have intangible assets. Okay, so what is an intangible asset? These are like the non-physical assets, things like patents, formulas, secret ingredients, even brand identity. Think of the logo of Apple and how important that is to their brand. As you can probably see, when you come to the assets on a balance sheet, these are ordered in degrees of liquidity. Okay, so the more liquid items are put at the top, and the less liquid items are placed at the bottom. Okay, so the next heading that you'll come to is liabilities. And again, we categorize these. We categorize those liabilities that are due, okay, meaning that we have to pay it within 1 year, and we categorize them as current. And we categorize the liabilities that are not due or are due in over a year as non-current, just like assets. So under current liabilities, we may have something called accounts payable. Okay, this is the flip side to accounts receivable, what we saw before. So this is essentially what you owe a supplier for items or services purchased on credit. You might also have current debt. Okay, this is debt that is needed to be paid within 1 year. Okay, maybe you took a loan from a bank and it needs to be paid within 1 year or whatever. Under non-current liabilities, you may have long-term debt. Long-term debt. This is debt that needs to be paid in over a year. It excludes, however, the current portion of that debt that may be due within a year. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Great, so now we've looked at that, let's look at our final heading. Shareholders' equity is generally split into two headings. Okay, you have share capital and you have retained earnings. Okay, what is share capital? It is the value of funds that shareholders have invested into a company. So if I've invested, say, £10,000 into starting a company, that would be my share capital within that company. Retained earnings, however, is the net income the company decides to keep from its profits. So, say a company makes 10,000 profits, 10,000 of profits one year. It may decide to pay out 5,000 of that, half of that, in the form of a dividend to its shareholders. The remaining £5,000 becomes retained earnings, and as a result, it increases the assets portion of the balance sheets by £5,000. And we saw how this all related to each other in part one of this series. So that's it, the major headings summed up. I think it's time we looked at a real balance sheet. So please join me for the next part of the series where I'll be looking at a real life example of a balance sheet and going through the various headings, using everything we've learned so far and making sense of it all. Take care, everyone, and hope to see you soon.